What up, YouTube? It's your boy Banks, and we back in the building, you feel me? It's True Talks, cause True Talks, alright? Let's get straight right into it. So you already know, man, we got some news, obviously, that has come out. First things first, obviously, we know that John Wall and Westbrook have been traded, right? That's been, has been official last night. It was John Wall traded for Russell Westbrook. They basically swapped places. And, basically, I'll go into that later into more depth in another video. But what has been kind of going more viral and getting the hoopla and being, having a media storm when it comes to this is basically Paul George, who was on the All the Smoke podcast. That's the podcast with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, the real ones. You already know. I watch them all the time, most definitely. And Paul George obviously was a guest on the show. And, they were, on the podcast, they were asking him questions. And what happened was there was a clip, I guess, through the All the Smoke. They have like a clip of on IG of basically, Paul George being asked questions by Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. And, basically asking them what went wrong in terms of the Clippers and also kind of like what was going on with you and your rhythm and, the type of shooting type of thing. They didn't show the in-depth context. I think the podcast will probably be out probably today. The actual episode, the full episode will be out today or next coming days. But this was just a clip to obviously get some promo, a clip to get just, to become viral and just have the hoop heads talking. Basically, you already know. Because again, all we know from the Clippers is not a face to face or a source from a face. It's normally just through reports this, report that, report this. So we don't have a face to the words. You know what I mean? We don't hear it from the horse's mouth. So this is the first time we're actually hearing mans who actually were on the team and actually playing on the court actually saying something. So again, Paul George talks about it and kind of goes into like just elaborates about, the issues that the Clippers were going with or dealing with and the kind of troubles he individually and personally was going through in terms of just play style wise. And then also coaching style wise, the kind of, mistakes they made and stuff like that. I will play, audio version of the clip, obviously, so y'all could hear, and then I'll kind of give my context and kind of like my IQ, because that's what I do about what I think. And is he capping? Is he telling the truth? What's the deep dive? What's the context? What's going on with all this, that, and the third? So we're definitely going to go straight right into it. So you already know, let's go into that context, because I give it that context. Let's go straight right into it. All right. So let's play the clip. We're definitely going to start off with, we'll see. I might just play both clips, then I talk about them after, or I just play a clip, talk about it, and then play the next clip. So, you know what? Let's play a clip, talk about it, and then play the next clip. Let's do that. So I'm going to play the first clip and, pay attention. Let's see what they're saying. Let's see what he's saying. And again, remember too, this is kind of like a shortened version. It's not like the full podcast. So I'll get more in depth of what everything is saying, but it's just a highlighted section. All right. So let's see what he's saying.
Oh, when I came into the mix, I missed I missed that time in the summer of playing pickup ball, hooping, getting a rhythm, getting the flow, working on my game. The timing right. So when I came back into the league and started playing again, I just felt off. Like I didn't feel like a part of the team. And
Facts.
Then, the way I was being used, I felt like I was, Doc was trying to play me as like a Ray Allen or like a JJ Redick.
Facts.
Pin downs, all like I can do it, but that ain't my game. Right? You know what I mean? I need some flow. I need some mixes of pick and rolls.
What I've been saying.
All that. Just different touches. You know what I mean? And so it was just, that last season was just hard overall. We was confident. We felt.
All right. So that's the first clip. So that's the first clip that kind of was, being talked about and kind of, basically the whole, media was going through a storm. So that's the first clip. And obviously people are saying PG won't, hold himself accountable. That's one narrative that people are saying. PG's, again, not holding himself accountable because, again, remember when they lost a 3-1 lead, PG was saying, oh, it wasn't championship or bust this year and this and that, right? So people have just taken the approach of this man doesn't hold himself accountable or this and that, and he just excuse, right? Why are you lying? Just bite the bullet and all that type of stuff. That's one narrative. I don't really address that narrative fully too much. But then again, now you see him again now pointing, to Doc basically having him in a different type of play style and an uncomfortable play style where he's not in his comfort zone. You know what I'm saying? And he's just doing kind of like one type of thing where he wants, and how he normally plays is where he is not limited to anything. It's just full arsenal, down screen, coming off screens, coming off spot ups, ball handling, ISOs, post up, high post, mid post, you know what I'm saying? PNR, the whole works, right? So let's address that. This is something that PG is definitely not capping about. This is something that I've been addressed a lot of the times. There has been people saying that the offense should be run through PG. For me, I think this is a situation where it's a 1A, 1B. So whoever's kind of feeling it is kind of who you go to. Remember, you got to understand the context. Kawhi is coming off a finals MVP and is coming off a championship before this entering the last season, right? He just won it with the Raptors, all that type of stuff. PG was an MVP candidate, but got bounced out in the first round to Damian Lillard with the bye-bye, right? So when you look at it from that context and you look at it from that perspective, you got to understand that basically it's, what are we doing here? Are we really going to go through PG? Or are we going to go through the guy who, in order for them to get Kawhi, they said, fine, okay, we'll do the PG deal. It's not like we're just getting PG. So you got to understand from the team perspective, the IQ perspective, and the context around this perspective at the time. So when you take in that into account, like I always was saying, there should have been a mix. There should have been a hybrid. The first mistake that Doc was making, which was from time, which he only didn't kind of fix until the playoffs. But even then, they're so used to something else that it's like now it's clashing, right? So multiple things, like I always said. So the first thing to address this was PG's correct, but the first mistake that Doc had made was playing PG and Kawhi together most of the times and not staggering their minutes. When they first were starting the season, he's right. PG came in, they were having a flow. It was Kawhi, and Kawhi would come out early, you know what I'm saying? And then Lou, Will, and Trez will come in together and do their pick and roll shit. And that worked because there was no PG. Remember, I was always saying this from time. That tandem was still kept intact. You know what I'm saying? Because there was no PG. It was one superstar. Kawhi comes out, the two guys come in, and they go to work. You know what I'm saying? They do what they were doing last year or the previous year, and that's what worked for them. So that's why you've seen they were thriving. It wasn't they lost a 1-2 games when Kawhi wasn't there and he was load managing, but they were still thriving. They were still having a top record. They were still solid. They beat the Lakers without a PG. Everything was flowing and moving properly. But then when you now integrated PG, which he's correct, he came in after, didn't really have a training camp, didn't really have a preseason, he had a shoulder injury, and then he just came into the mix, and that was his first go at it. No warm up, no rhythm, no off season, no summer, no nothing, right? So that I understand from that perspective, but it's not just that. It's a combination of, like I said, the first mistake was Doc. Doc did make a mistake. I said this from the season, was not staggering their minutes, because what this does now is that when you stagger their minutes, you can keep each superstar, each dynamic duo, each person in a focal point rhythm where now when they're together to end the games, they're both in rhythm, and it's not going to matter if they're taking limited shots in a crucial time or they only get 1 or 2 shots. They will be still in some type of rhythm throughout the game. Obviously, now to that end point, you still, like, if he hasn't touched the ball for how long, it still will be, out of rhythm, but it's not completely out of rhythm because he's been running it within the game, within the structure of the game, right? So what I mean by that is, to elaborate more, is that you stagger their minutes. What that means is, for y'all who don't know, that means Kawhi and PG, they start the game, right? And then whether it's vice versa, whether you want to take out PG first, leave Kawhi in to finish the quarter, right? So you take PG out, let's say, he plays the first 7 minutes or so. He comes out at the 5-minute mark. 5 minutes left in the first. Kawhi stays the whole first, right? So during that 5-minute stretch, when it's Kawhi and the other guys, right? And no PG, Kawhi is the focal point of the offense, right? It's running through him. Now he plays that whole first quarter. He comes out, and to start the second quarter, PG gets integrated back in, and there's no Kawhi. Kawhi doesn't come back in till like 7 minutes left in the second. So now during his 5-minute stretch without Kawhi, PG becomes the focal point. So that's why I was saying by staggering the minutes, you always have one in at all times. When they're both in, you could mix between giving Kawhi the offense, giving PG the offense. One play, it's, we're doing a play for Kawhi. Kawhi's doing PNR. The next play, it's, Kawhi's in the corner, PG's doing PNR. Then you can mix and match with them being in together. One play, it's Kawhi post up. One play, it's PG post up. One play, it's, PG spot or coming off a down screen. You know what I'm saying? If not, he gets it. If he doesn't like the look off the down screen, now he clears out ISO or he calls for a PNR or whatever the case. You run motion offense between both of them, and everyone else kind of fits in and, does it within situational KYP, you know what I'm saying, based off of what is happening and what the defense is giving you between those two players. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I was saying that became the issue, because to start, PG's getting integrated and he didn't stagger the minutes. It was just Kawhi and PG come out together and they kind of come in together. Maybe 1 minute apart, and that was it. But then even then, when PG would come in, Lou Will and Trez are still doing their tandem shit. So PG's still playing off ball and kind of only getting it off down screens and stuff like that. He's saying, the JJ Redick type of role. And that kind of affects rhythm. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. Unless he's hitting everything on all cylinders without the rhythm needed, it's kind of like, it's harder to sustain because that's not who he is. And that's why I say, this is what people don't understand. That's why I say KD is such a different talent, because he could play with any limitation. You limit him to only coming off down screens, he'll still be efficient. You limit to only being spot ups, he'll still be efficient. You limit him to limited, that's not his game, but he'll find a way to, he has multiple facets to his game that he'll find a way to be elite at every single thing that you give him. That's why I tell people that's talent in itself. That's why you're able to play with a lot of people. That talent in itself is something that is so underrated that people don't even look at, to be honest. They only look at their ball dominant self and their self in their best lane. They don't look at the other stuff. If you're able to play with all these other things that don't cater to you, but it technically caters to you, you don't have a weakness. So that's a different context. That's basically saying PG only feels comfortable when he's doing this, that, and the third, which is doing everything. Obviously, it's not limited, because he's the ask that he's asking for, or the complaint that he's having, is that I want to be able to do everything. So that already is not saying that you're limited. You know what I'm saying? It just means that you might struggle or might be more limited if you're only stuck to one point, or if you're only stuck to this, or if you're only stuck to that, you feel like a role player. That's he's not in his bag, and he doesn't have a pep in his step. So when you look at it from that perspective, that kind of is hindering, but it's not like what some people are saying, oh my God, he's so limited. No, it means he's actually so unlimited, he doesn't want to be boxed. That's what it's basically saying. So when you look at it from that perspective, PG is definitely correct. He's definitely correct in that. And that's why, like I was saying, you stagger the minutes and let them eat when now it's only one of them, right? And Lou will have to sacrifice. Trez will have to sacrifice. Especially Lou will have to sacrifice, and he would have to be the PG when it's just him and PG. And PG would be Kawhi. You know what I'm saying? And then vice versa, when it's Kawhi, he would have to be, you know what I'm saying? You always have to be the second guy dependent. Then when they're all in, he has to sacrifice. It just comes with the territory, comes with having two superstars on your team. You're not as elevated. You know what I'm saying? But when you look at it from that perspective, that's where I was saying Doc made a mistake there, because that you could see affected them later down, especially in the playoffs and in tough situations where now It's like, if you're so used to doing this thing, like I was saying, if you staggered the minutes and you did it like that throughout the whole season, and now when you get to the playoffs where now you're fighting a team that's fighting to the end, they're not going to die. They keep going, they keep going, they keep going. You know, you're in an actual strong battle. They're pushing you, you know, they're putting your throat, your neck to the, or your face to the fire, all that type of stuff. You don't just buckle. You're so used to the stagger, and you're so used to this type of flow that you can recreate it, or you're going to be comfortable even when you're not comfortable. As opposed to you're so stuck in one lane that now they need you to break out and all of a sudden do all these other things. Like in PG's case was what he's saying. Now it's like, what? We're not used to this. That's what always happens in deep playoff runs. The deeper the playoff run, the more arsenal, the more deep kind of level context, the more you have to actually do, and the more irregular things you have to do, which again adds to adjustments and adds to all these other things. But if you look at it from that perspective, again, I agree wholeheartedly with PG in the situation. They were supposed to find a keen or a strong, smart balance. You know what I'm saying? And then based off of that, you go through the hot hand. It's not just one or one and one. You know, Kawhi's not in a situation where it's like the Toronto, it's him or die. That's not the whole point. The whole point is you're deep. The whole point is you have multiple guys. You can go Kawhi or die, but you know what I'm saying? You don't just do that every single time. And that's where I completely agree offensively. But even with that, they still should have won versus the Nuggets. They still shouldn't have lost. If you lost to the Lakers because of this issue, you know, we hear you, but it's still no excuse. It's an explanation. That's how I took it as, you know what I'm saying? But I know a lot of people took it as an excuse. You know what I'm saying? But it's just giving insight. Hoopers always want to know. We know when you're speculating what's going on, what's wrong. Then when the player and you hear from the horse's mouth actually says it, now it kind of gives you context. Who was right? What was going on here? Like I said, I agree with that. He was moving like he was JJ and moving off down screens and all of that type of stuff. Coming off the corner, shot pop, shot three. And like he was doing that a lot, which he doesn't always do. He mixes it, right? So like we were saying. So that's one part of it. I agree with him in that, you know, I agree with him. And definitely they did like Doc was sussing in there. And I was saying that even from during my videos, you know what I'm saying, before he even said this. So that's something I've been talking about. So now let's go to the other. Now the what also brought more hoopla. Let's go to the other spectrum or the other side of what, you know, he was saying in these new clips or this new clip that came out. There was two. So this is the other one. Let's listen and let's take a deep dive. You get what I'm saying?
You know, we was confident. We felt like, you know, we went up 3-1. We felt like, you know, we're going to win the next one. We lost. We like, cool. We up 3-2. We're going to win the next one.
Facts.
We lost. But during that whole process, like we never worked on adjustments. We never worked on what to do differently. We just literally having the same shit happen over and over again. So it started to play a trick on you. Like, man, like what's going on? Like, you know what I mean? We talking amongst each other. Like the conversations is like, nah, we gonna be all right. The conversation should have been like, nah, we need to change this. Yeah, we need to switch this up. So we wasn't like at the end of the day, I don't think we deserved it. We wasn't prepared enough going into it. Just us making adjustment standpoint. We wasn't prepared. We didn't put the work into it. It was kind of just like, yo, we got PG, we got Quad, we got Lou, Trez. Like
Facts. Okay. So that's where it kind of like cut, you know what I mean, a 1-2. But that was kind of like the clip that was, you know, that was floating on IG and stuff like that. So when we look at it from now, you hear what he's saying. He's basically saying that, you know what, they just their approach was basically, you know, like I remember what I was saying. Doc, that's why Doc, you understand. Doc has also been a player. Their approach is, yo, handle your business defensively. We good on offense. Like he said, we got Kawhi, we got PG, we got all these guys. We'll score. But we got to just defend. You know what I'm saying? We got to just defend and we got to just, you know, we'll be good. If we do this defense, you know, we went up 3-1. We won 3 games. It was blowouts. Even the games we lost within those games, we were up. We'll be good. We'll be all right. Just lock in. Just less kind of like, it's not, you understand. In basketball, a lot of the times, if it ain't broke, you know what I mean? Don't fix it. So you understand, like they're looking at it from, they didn't really beat us, we sus. That's how they're looking at it from. Because when you're up 3-1, then you lose 3-2, and you're not, remember, you understand, like, this is why I want people to understand, because again, they're bashing PG, saying that he's blaming Doc and he's putting the onus on Doc, and then other people are like, see, Doc wasn't that. See, Doc wasn't that. And then there's a whole now, again, terrible narrative, like I've been said, on Doc. And I know Doc didn't adjust in some situations, but in this type of series, there's certain things that he just didn't need to adjust. It's called play better. It's called take ownership. So what he's saying is correct offensively. So when you want to look at it from like Kawhi getting double teamed and this, that, and the third, and not making the proper adjustments offensively, you know what I'm saying? I agree. And that's where I was saying Doc obviously sussed in that perspective, but it's not enough to just, that's the reason why you lost, because you didn't lose because of offense. Let's be honest. Why you lost, like I said, was because of the Jokic problem, the ability to pick and roll, the ability to pick and pop. That was his ability. The ability to pop is what threatened a lot of this whole downhill situation. And for anybody, not just PG. PG's talking about offensive side. So now everybody in media is going to be like, oh, Doc didn't adjust. See. The players are saying it. Even when Kawhi said it, I feel like I was double teamed and this and that. That's all offensively. I never was saying offensively. But Doc was adjusting defensively. I can tell you all the different things he did in one quarter, in a 5-minute span. I showed it in my video, in my breakdown. All what he did to try and switch things up. He was adjusting, even with lineups. He even played Reggie Jackson. The only one he didn't play was Joakim Noah. But anyways, like I said, Joakim Noah and Zubac were the same problem. Because defensively, you're big, like your actual rim protector big. You know, he's not going to gap a pick and roll and then run back out to Jokic at 3. That's too much work for any rim protector to do. Which is why you see when they have a shooting big, a lot of the times what do? Go small ball. So you just switch everything. And then that's when that big has to have the ability to still eat in mismatches. And you just live with it. Pick your poison. That's what it is. You're not going to stop everything. Pick what you want to stop. Do you want to just allow mans to get open threes? Or do you want to switch everything? And if he breaks your chest in the post, sometimes he might miss. Sometimes you could live with that. Make him take contested twos. You live with that. You have to pick your poison. So like I was saying, when it came to defense, this is where PG didn't actually, like, his context is incorrect now. Because defensively, they adjusted. They might not have, what he's saying, talked about it, like, in the actual game plan, like, oh, tell this guy to do this or tell this guy to do this. Yo, this is what we're going to do. Like, they didn't talk about it like that, is what he's alluding to. But the coaches talked about it and they just made the subs because they know what each person, KYP, what each person's personnel actually is. So when I sub him in, I know his tendencies. We don't have to talk about that. I know you. So I know what I'm going to do. If this happens, I know what I'm going to do. So again, during the 3-1 lead, during the 3-1, losing the leads from 3-1, you got to look at it. What did they do? Jokic just pop in with Zubac. Splash three, because Zubac is just protecting the paint, and he's open at 3, splash. Take out Zubac. What did he do? He brought in JaMychal. He brought in Trez. Trez, same struggling. He can't guard that, or whatever the case is, or finally they do, let's say, switch, or they just go to Jokic in the post. He's breaking Herro's chest. Abuse, no excuse. And still, he's not doing the pick and roll. Same problem with Zoo. He's like, God damn, I thought Herro would be more athletic, more lateral. Okay, you know what? Let's bring JaMychal. This is called adjustment. He's adjusted. He's adjusted by substitution because this is their issue. JaMychal comes in. What are they doing? He's able to gap recover. They're not scoring as much. They're able to switch more because he actually has IQ. They're doing switchability. Everyone just switch 1 through 5. Switch. What happens now? Jokic has a baby. Break chest. Bucket. Or now they're trying to switch everything. Now, because a baby's on Jokic, you have to double team, backdoor, bucket. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not working. You know what? Let's put Marcus Morris at the 5. This is what he did, especially in game 6. This is what he did. He put Marcus Morris at the 5, tried to do switch everything, didn't work. So that's literally 4 different big men you're using at the 5. You're using Zoo, you're using JaMychal, you're using Montrez, and they're using Morris. I seen him do all of that in 1 quarter. In 1 quarter, and nothing worked. And he burned 2 or 3 timeouts in 1 quarter. Especially what was it, game 6. I seen that. And then even inserted Reggie Jackson. Like, I seen him trying to adjust. So don't give me that, oh, he didn't adjust at all, or what other people are saying. Paul George is not talking about the whole context and the whole grand scheme. He's just saying we didn't adjust. So people are now just, oh my God, Paul George said he didn't adjust. Doc, it's true, he didn't adjust. Paul George is not telling you we didn't just adjust offensively, but we adjusted on defense. He's not telling you that. He's only talking about the offensive side of things. That's clearly the context. He's talking about his rhythm, because remember, his missing and them not scoring. Then he's also talking about them struggling. Kawhi is also talking about them struggling. Everything's on the offensive side of the ball. But when you were up, this is the people don't understand. When they lost games versus even the Mavericks, where people thought they might lose the series, what was happening? Anytime Porzingis was there and he was popping just like Jokic, problem. Porzingis got injured. Anytime Luka was cooking, problem. So you got to look at it from this perspective. Anytime you didn't play proper defense, that's when you lost. Anytime you impose your will defensively and you put fear in their eyes, what happened? Straps, you get easy transition. Now you guys have flow. You have movement. You guys are aggressive on offense. You're like, hey, clapping each other's hands, screaming, flexing, Pat Bev screaming off the bench. Like, you guys are moving properly. Your defense is where you lock up, and the offense, you figured it out. You didn't worry about offense ever. So now when you're just allowing buckets and your defense is sussing, you think all of a sudden you're going to be like, yo, let's worry about offense and clean this up. You're never going to clean that up. That was the whole issue. That's why Doc is like, why am I going to focus only on offense when the whole point of our team and why we're elite is defensive structuring, defense elite, switchability, pads, perimeter lockup. You get what I'm saying? All of that stuff. And then based off of that, we already know we're going to score with Kawhi and PG. He's right. We have Kawhi, we have PG, we have Lou Will. We're going to score. We have talented guys offensively. That's not the issue. Now, again, doesn't mean you have no structure at all. Doesn't mean he's not wrong, like I said. But for the Nuggets, for them to lose versus the Lakers, their structuring might matter. Because, again, Lakers actually have defense like that, all of that type of stuff. But don't get it twisted. The Nuggets have defense. They have Jeremy Grant. But even then, Kawhi was cooking. But what happened was you're not scoring on defense. I mean, you're not locking them up on defense. Then, now there's magnitude on every type of shot you take. There's pressure on every type of shot you take. Every possession coming down the court is high pressure now because you're not getting stops. So you have to match them with scoring. And you guys are now already flustered with you not locking up. So now you're offensively, if a man is not cooking or you miss any shot, the more, morale is decreased. Morale is decreased. Demoralizing. Rattle it in out. Demoralizing. Add that with fatigue. Add that with no chemistry. When you're pushed to the shove, now it's like everyone's trying to be hero in that moment. Now your offense looks even more fugazi because it's the same offense, but it's now more rushed, more pressured, more, shit. Nah, let me cook. Or no, you know what I mean? And that's when now it looks fugazi. Now it's like, oh my God, hindsight, you could say they didn't adjust. Look at that. You already lost the game, even if you scored every point. And not only that, even another defensive adjustment that the man made was, what did he do in game 7? He didn't just, switch everything. What did he do? He literally tried, even with Trez there, what did he try to do? You know what? When they do pick and roll with Murray, let's actually just trap the pick and roll. Try and get a turnover. What did he do? Pass to Jokic. Jokic is now playmaking. That's why Jokic had almost basically a triple-double, or he had a triple-double. It had bare assists. Jokic did not move like that in any other game. Because they never trapped the pick and roll. They either switched, it was single coverages. So now, they literally did a fifth, sixth adjustment. You know what? All these men literally can't, when we try to switch or gap and recover, it's a problem with these guys. When we try to switch everything, it's a problem with these guys. You know what? In game 7, we're going to trap the pick and roll and play team, zone type of defense and rotational defense off of that. What happened? While Jokic gets it, he kind of pauses for a bit. Dime to the corner, because now it's a what? What is that? You have 2 on the ball, on 1. So what does that become? It becomes a 4-on-3. 3 guys are eliminated. 2 of your guys, 1 of their guys. So it's a 4-on-3. So what happens now? Jokic, pick and pocket, or dime to the corner, no looks. While he's driving, Jeremy Grant cuts. Like all of that, they just playmaking. And what I was saying, don't double, don't trap. Then what did they do? They try to switch. You know what I'm saying? Like he literally tried to do everything defensively. All because of Jokic. And because now they were focusing on Jokic so much, what happens? Murray goes to work. Because what happens? They're so comfortable with getting buckets for 2 straight games. There's no nerves no more. The pressure's on you, not us. We're supposed to lose. We play free. Murray plays free, goes off. So like I said, it was the defense. You lost because of defense first, offense second. So to say he didn't adjust and you didn't do any adjustments means you're only looking at the offensive side of the ball. Because if you looked at defense, you would see Doc did adjustments. You would actually see there was adjustments. But nothing worked. Nothing worked. And that's where I was saying it was due to chemistry. Now the offense is fugazi. Now they're getting frustrated on offense. What happens? You're not helping each other. You're not helping the helper. You're not helping the third rotation, second rotation, fourth rotation. You're not doing that. You're not, aggressively moving on a string. And now buckets is happening. And I was like, so you're fighting on offense. And now you're fighting on defense. And you already have no chemistry. And there's already been some fights in the locker room. What's going to happen? We can't just point it just to adjustments. Cap. Straight cap. And that's why I say I agree with Paul George only to a certain extent. Because again, I'm someone who's a purist. I'm someone who looks at the game at all levels. I don't just look at one side of the ball. You know what I'm saying? People even say, oh, Banks only talks about offense. That's when we talk about the superstars and stuff like that. Because that's what mainly matters. And y'all highlight other things that they matter. Everything matters. But they don't matter in terms of versus this thing. That matters. This matters more. So we don't really talk about that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, again, people think, oh my God, Banks only focuses on offense. No, every little thing matters. Every play, every rotation, every, little thing with no IQ. That is a game within a game at all times. Everything matters, man. Everything matters. Look at you, just sus now they can score on transition. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Everything matters. Everything matters. Especially if you see me do my IG lives when games have started, which I'll probably do more next year. You see me, or this season coming up, you see me do these lives and I talk and I complain about each and everything. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? Like, everything matters, but at the end of the day, there's hierarchies to what things matter. Just like everyone on the team matters, but there's hierarchies to who's a superstar and who's not. It's the same type of thing. You got to pick your poison, and there's levels to this at the end of the day, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, like I said, Paul George is completely correct to a certain extent. The first thing he's talking about, he's completely correct when it comes to his play style and his rhythm. But when it comes to, Doc Rivers not adjusting and the coaching staff not adjusting and this, that, and the third, that's cap. He's right to a certain extent. They didn't adjust offensively. It was kind of like we focused defensively. If we just clean up our defense, we'll be good. We'll win. And I agree, especially versus the Nuggets. If y'all lost to the Lakers and y'all will doing the same shit, I will say, he could have adjusted because clearly, you know what I mean? Like, you can't, there's only so much defense you can do on AD and LeBron and stuff like that. Like, you can't just expect to lock them up every possession and your defense is going to win you the games. No, you have to have offense too. You have to count. You have to, cancel whatever they're doing. So it's going to matter more of how you adjust on just offensively. If Kawhi gets doubled, this guy's going to cut, or we're going to run this play to avoid Kawhi getting doubled. We're going to play him off the ball in the post to avoid Kawhi getting doubled. We're going to do this, then the third, instead of running the same pick and roll action, the same this and that. But versus the Nuggets, you don't have to do that. If y'all just locked up properly, they're more limited team-wise anyways. I'm not saying they're not elite, but they're more limited team-wise. The games you won, you strapped up Murray. Jokic did only so much damage. Y'all were moving on a string. But now when they found out what the issue was, which was Jokic, and y'all couldn't stop that, y'all know everything started from that, then that's where it went downhill. You know what I mean? I feel like if y'all just defended properly, and I know if y'all just defended properly, you would have won. Because again, even in these bad defensive games, even in these bad offensive games, we didn't adjust offensively, Kawhi getting double teamed, you still was up 3-1. Not only that, you still was up a big margin in each of those deficits in the 3 straight games that the Nuggets won. So, is it really going to be the offense? No, your defense sussed. Now they're scoring. Now you guys are frustrated offensively because now you guys are missing because there's so much pressure on every take. That's how basketball works, man. It's all chain reaction. It's all dependent on each, and it all correlates. So when you look at it from that perspective, like I said, Paul George is right to a certain extent, but some of it is cap. And it's kind of like, it's one of those things where he's not lying, but he's not just telling the full truth. That's all. He's just talking on one side, right? So that's all what that is. It's like, oh, someone says, oh, you didn't tell me you had a girlfriend. What do you mean? You didn't ask me. So he's not lying. He didn't lie, but he just didn't tell the full truth. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what PG did. So I just have, IQ. That's what I do. You already know. So again, we'll see how they move this year. We already know training camp basically started and all this and that is going on. And we'll just see how, obviously also too, the schedule came out where opening day games are, there's going to be more marquee matchups coming out. I think the schedule will be released within either today or the next couple of days or whatever, but we already know how the preseason is going to go, right? We already know that they're going to start the preseason with the Lakers and the Clippers, and then they're going to start the opening, season banner night with the Lakers and the Clippers. And the Warriors and the Nets, which is what Elite looks like. It's two rivalries. KD versus old team. You know what I'm saying? And Kyrie versus Steph, which is always a great battle. And then you also have Kawhi versus LeBron again and the whole Clippers rivalry. But then we don't get that on Christmas. But then again, which one would you want? Would you want, they have to choose one. They can't have both marquee matchups 2 straight games in a row. That's just wasted, especially in the early part of the season after all this was going on. You're just wasting marquee matchups in a shortened time. You have to space them out. So you have to choose one, either opening day or either Christmas. I rather have opening day with the two, with the marquee matchup. The way they have it now, Christmas is Christmas, and you can get away with, especially if it's a close game, you can get away with, the Clippers and the Nuggets or something. You can get away with it. I rather have I don't know, but again, I rather have even if it's the Warriors and the Lakers, I'd rather have that. You know what I'm saying? Than the Warriors and the Bucks. There's some games I'd rather have. The Nets and the Celtics sounds elite, and I like that. I definitely like that. You know what I mean? But I don't know, man. I don't know. We could have been, and we could even had why aren't the Suns there? The Suns deserve, you know what I mean? Me. Anyways, we'll see. I'm not too mad though. The Christmas ones is not too mad at anything. It's not too mad at anything. Like I said, again, let me know in the comment section what y'all think. Y'all been doing that regardless, so I appreciate y'all. Share, like, and subscribe. We out here. There's no doubt here. There's no drought here. You already know. It's True Talks, because True Talks. You already know, man. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. So just share, like, and subscribe. Do it all. You already know, man. The season coming up. We like what it is. This is what Elite looks like. I can't wait, man. There's so many things to look forward to, man. Anyways, you already know. And I'm out, man.